What was the name question?
I'd like to answer that question as well, like all your other questions today. However, I have to follow my attorney's advice. They have told me that I must invoke my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment.
Just when you thought the Epstein saga was over, it's not. Newly released videos have sparked a storm, and suddenly, several big-name celebrities seem to have vanished from the public eye. Who are they? Why did they disappear? And what do these shocking clips really reveal? Today, we're breaking down the 7 celebs who went quiet after these Epstein videos came out. So buckle up, because some of these disappearances are straight-up jaw-dropping. Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew's saga is wild. Once the Queen's favorite son, he's now basically vanished from public life, and it all comes down to his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew was tight with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell for years, staying at Epstein's homes in New York and Florida. In 2010, he was photographed walking through Central Park with Epstein, shortly after Epstein's prison release. He was also a guest at Windsor Castle in Sandringham, brought into the royal circle, more as a +1 via his girlfriend than by formal invitation. Meanwhile, Epstein was procuring young girls for trafficking, though at the time nobody knew. Reports even say Epstein helped pay $15,000 of Andrew's ex-wife Sarah Ferguson's debts. The real scandal: Virginia Giuffre accused Andrew of misconduct when she was 17, claiming Epstein and Maxwell trafficked her to him. In response, the Queen stripped Andrew of all titles and evicted him from Royal Lodge. With 3 million pages of new files released, Andrew is back in headlines. Buckingham Palace isn't commenting, but insiders say it's now a matter of Andrew's conscience whether he testifies. King Charles reportedly didn't know about these connections until the files dropped. Palace sources emphasize that anyone with information that could help the investigation should cooperate, but ultimately it's Andrew's call. This all ties back to the October 2022 stripping of his titles, when the palace stated, "These censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him." And then there's the infamous BBC interview in November 2019, a disaster. Andrew defended himself by saying he couldn't have been where Giuffre claimed because he was at Pizza Express in Woking. Yes, Pizza Express. He also claimed he doesn't sweat because of an adrenaline overdose from the Falklands War. Public reaction? Shock and disbelief. The fallout was fast. In May 2020, he stepped back from royal duties. By January 2022, the Queen stripped him of military titles, royal patronages, and even his Royal Highness status. In February 2022, he settled with Giuffre out of court. His charitable trust shut down, the Duke of York Young Champions Trophy ended, and Andrew basically disappeared. Once everywhere, royal ceremonies, state events, military parades, Andrew is now mostly confined to Royal Lodge. When he appears in public, it's shocking. He's essentially a prince in hiding, and the silence surrounding him says everything. Sarah Ferguson. All right, Sarah Ferguson's ties to Jeffrey Epstein go way deeper than most people realized. And honestly, the more that comes out, the messier it looks. She first met Epstein through her ex-husband, Prince Andrew, and through him, she became part of Epstein's social circle. But it wasn't just casual. Her relationship with Epstein ended up being closer than anyone expected. Ferguson, the Duchess of York, has now been dropped from several charities after a leaked email revealed her apologizing to Epstein.
Hannah, what exactly did the email say?
Well, Sarah, the bombshell email was reportedly sent to Jeffrey Epstein in 2011 and shows Sarah Ferguson apologising for linking him to and she describes him as a supreme friend to her.
Her spokesperson says she only sent it because Epstein was threatening her with a defamation lawsuit. But still, the damage was done. At least 6 charities, including one she'd been involved with for 35 years, cut ties, saying it was now inappropriate for her to stay connected. Things get even messier. Back in March 2011, it came out that Epstein had paid £15,000 to one of Ferguson's employees to clear a debt she owed. At the time, she called it a gigantic error of judgment, and everyone assumed that was it. But no. New reports suggest Epstein may have been financially supporting her for up to 15 years. Think about that. 15 years of money from a convicted offender. And it wasn't just cash. Emails from 2009 show Ferguson asking Epstein for business advice. She wanted help launching her company, Mother's Army, and figuring out how to make it profitable. In the emails, she calls him the brother I have always wished for, and a legend. This is after his 2008 conviction, by the way. Everyone knew exactly who he was. But here's the kicker. In July 2009, shortly after Epstein got out of prison, Ferguson visited his Florida home with her daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie. She brought her daughters to a convicted offender's house. Seriously. Then in April 2011, after her public apology, she emailed him again, calling him steadfast, generous, and supreme friend. This was apparently after Epstein threatened her reputation. Around the same time, he even wanted Ferguson to help improve his image publicly. The fallout kept coming. In September 2025, 7 charities cut ties with her after the Supreme Friend email leaked, including Teenage Cancer Trust, Julia's House, and Prevent Breast Cancer. By February 2026, her own charity, Sarah's Trust, announced it was closing indefinitely. She also faced major public backlash for continuing to reach out to Epstein for financial help, asking for advice even while knowing he was a convicted offender. In October 2025, she and Prince Andrew were reportedly told to leave Royal Lodge, their longtime home. What really shocks people is that it wasn't just a one-time mistake in 2011. The emails show she kept going back, asking for money, asking for advice, praising him, all while fully aware of who he was. This scandal keeps growing, and honestly, it leaves everyone wondering, how could she stay that close to someone like Epstein for so long? Bill Gates. Alright, let's talk Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein. This one is messy and honestly kind of shocking when you dig into it. Gates started meeting with Epstein in 2011, which already raises eyebrows because Epstein had been convicted in 2008 for soliciting inappropriate contact with a minor. Everyone knew who he was, yet Gates still went to Epstein's New York townhouse multiple times between 2011 and 2014.
Every minute I spent with him, I regret and I apologize that I did that.
He explained that his initial reasoning was charitable. Epstein claimed he could get wealthy friends to donate billions to global health, which sounded perfect for the Gates Foundation. But here's the kicker. It never happened. By 2014, Gates' team realized Epstein wasn't delivering and cut him off. Fast forward to 2026, when a batch of unverified documents dropped. They included draft emails Epstein wrote in 2013, but never sent, with serious allegations about Gates' personal life and behavior. Gates pushed back hard, saying these claims are absolutely false and defamatory. His team believes Epstein was upset the relationship ended and was making things up out of spite, which honestly sounds like classic Epstein, who was notoriously vindictive. There are a few eyebrow-raising details, like flight records showing Gates on a plane linked to Epstein in 2013. Gates insists he didn't know it was Epstein's plane and never visited Epstein's private island. The fallout? Gates' wife, Melinda, reportedly wasn't comfortable with the Epstein connection, and it's said to have been a factor in their 2021 divorce after 27 years of marriage. Gates has publicly apologized multiple times, calling the meetings a huge mistake and expressing regret for every minute spent with Epstein. But here's the problem. The damage to his reputation is lasting. Every time new Epstein documents drop, like they did in 2026, Gates has to defend himself again. And people keep asking the same question. Why would one of the smartest people in the world keep meeting with a convicted offender? What was he really getting out of it? Because clearly, it wasn't the charitable donations he was promised. Bill Clinton. Alright, let's talk Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein. This saga has been dragging on for years, and every time it seems like it's slowing down, new details pop up. After leaving the White House, Clinton flew on Epstein's private jet multiple times between 2002 and 2003. Yeah, the infamous plane that ended up with that unfortunate nickname. His team insists it was just 4 trips for Clinton Foundation work in Africa and Europe, but flight logs tell a bigger story. Over 20 flights with Epstein. Secret Service usually tagged along, but still. Why so many trips with someone who later became a convicted sex offender? Epstein even donated to the Clinton Foundation and had been to the White House back in the early 90s. In 2002, Clinton visited Epstein's New York apartment, and things get uncomfortable. One of Epstein's employees, Johanna Seoberg, testified that Epstein made some concerning comments about Clinton's preferences. Yes, that's an actual quote from testimony. Trump even got involved politically, asking top law enforcement to investigate Clinton's ties to Epstein after thousands of emails from Epstein's estate were released by U.S. lawmakers. Trump framed it as controlling the narrative, claiming it was mostly a Democrat-driven push. But flight logs and photos kept surfacing, adding fuel to the fire. Clinton has always denied going to Epstein's private island and says he cut off contact around 2005 before Epstein's first conviction. Importantly, no victim has accused Clinton of any wrongdoing, and he hasn't been charged with any crimes related to Epstein. Fast forward. Bill and Hillary Clinton eventually agreed to testify in a House investigation into Epstein. Initially, they refused after being subpoenaed by the Republican-led Oversight Committee, which eventually threatened them with contempt charges in January 2026. By February 2026, they agreed to give closed-door film depositions to avoid a full contempt vote. Imagine, a former president being threatened with contempt. The fallout has been ongoing. Photos leak, flight logs resurface, and political opponents won't let it die. 2026 documents even show the FBI looked into allegations against Clinton, though some weren't deemed credible. Still, no criminal charges, no victim accusations. Yet the association alone has kept him in the spotlight for years. Every time new Epstein files drop, Clinton's name pops up again. The public can't stop asking, what did he really know? And why did he spend so much time with Epstein? It's a scandal that just refuses to die. Larry Summers. Oh man, Larry Summers. This one's wild. Former Treasury Secretary, ex-Harvard president, super respected economist, and yet his career basically imploded in November 2025 when thousands of Epstein emails went public. Summers had been friendly with Epstein for years. People knew that. But these emails? They show he was still talking to Epstein all the way until July 5th, 2019. That's literally one day before Epstein got arrested on federal charges. Unreal. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, herself a former Harvard professor, immediately called on the school to cut ties with Summers, saying he cannot be trusted. These revelations came from the recent release of Epstein's private emails, and they're shocking. Summers, who also served as Bill Clinton's Treasury Secretary and as Obama's National Economic Council Director, apparently leaned on Epstein for dating advice, even discussing whether he should reach out to romantic interests in March 2019. Here's the part that really raises eyebrows. In 2018 and 2019, Summers was reportedly using Epstein to pursue a relationship with a younger female economist who was his mentee. Yes, his mentee. Someone he was supposed to be mentoring professionally, not courting. Epstein even referred to himself as Summers' helper in the emails, and they joked about it like it was totally normal, highly inappropriate to say the least. When asked about the emails, Summers' correspondence showed a mix of professional and personal matters, sometimes crossing lines, making light of workplace misconduct, and even questioning women's intelligence. Back in 2005, while he was Harvard president, he visited Epstein's private island, the same island tied to misconduct, and even solicited donations for his wife, a Harvard professor. He stayed in touch with Epstein for over a decade after Epstein's 2008 conviction. The fallout was immediate. Summers stepped down from the board of OpenAI, resigned from the Center for American Progress and the Center for Global Development, and left Yale's budget lab. Then, on December 2nd, 2025, The American Economic Association hit him with a lifetime ban. No publishing, no participating ever again. For an economist, that's basically career death. It's like telling a musician they can never perform again. Harvard also launched a new investigation to see if Summers or others violated university policies through their Epstein connections. Summers did apologize, calling the situation a major error of judgment and saying he was deeply ashamed. He also announced he would step back from public commitments to try and rebuild trust. But let's be real, the damage is done. Reputation destroyed, career effectively over. People are left wondering how someone so accomplished could make such questionable choices. Using a convicted offender as a personal advisor? That's career-ending judgment at every level. And the scary part? All of this was hidden in emails until 2025. Makes you wonder, what other emails are still out there, waiting to drop? How many other people are holding their breath right now, hoping their names don't surface next? Naomi Campbell. All right, let's dive into Naomi Campbell and Jeffrey Epstein. This one's interesting because, unlike some of the others on this list, she hasn't been accused of doing anything illegal. But still, her connection to him has definitely turned heads. Campbell was part of Epstein's social circle in the early 2000s. Flight logs show she flew on his private jet at least twice in 2002, London to New York, Paris to New York, with Ghislaine Maxwell on board. Her name popped up in Epstein's famous address book, and there are photos of her with both Epstein and Maxwell at various events. Campbell has been clear about what she knew.
Did you know who he was?
Yes, I knew him. I was introduced to him on my 31st birthday by my ex-boyfriend Flavio. He was always front and center at Victoria's Secret shows.
Did you suspect what he was doing?
No, and what he's done is indefensible. And when I heard of what he'd done, it sickened me to my stomach, just like everybody else.
She also acknowledged how tricky fame can make situations like this.
I've rubbed shoulders with hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, I find it extraordinary that of all the hundreds of thousands of people that I've stood next to take a picture at a public event, they've only chosen these few. It's going to be very difficult to be photographed at public events because you're going to think if you do take a picture, it's going to be taken out of context and used in a negative way.
In the 2025 documents, Maxwell suggested Campbell might have visited Epstein's private island, though that's never been confirmed. There's also evidence Campbell reached out to Epstein for business advice, like help with her swimsuit line. She pushed back against guilt by association, pointing out that many celebrities were photographed with Epstein. But that only goes so far when people are scrutinizing every connection. Now, the consequences for Naomi? Very different from Larry Summers or Sarah Ferguson. She hasn't been charged or accused of wrongdoing, and her career hasn't collapsed. But the media spotlight has been intense. People have questioned her judgment, her past photos, and even her charity work. Critics tried to drag her reputation through the mud, which she described as being held hostage by her past. Speaking of charity, in May 2024, Campbell was banned from being a charity trustee for 5 years after a UK investigation into her charity, Fashion for Relief, found financial misconduct. She's fighting that in court, claiming she was actually a victim of fraud by another trustee. Bottom line, Naomi hasn't faced career-ending fallout from the Epstein connection. She's still modeling, still in the public eye, still working. But every time Epstein's name comes up, hers gets dragged along whether she likes it or not. It's a reminder that being in the wrong place with the wrong people at the wrong time can stick with you forever, even if you did nothing illegal. The photos exist, the flight logs exist, and people remember. Peter Attia. All right, this one just dropped in early 2026, and it's huge. Dr. Peter Attia, big name in longevity and health optimization, basically saw his career implode overnight after the Department of Justice released a massive batch of Epstein documents. In late January 2026, 3.5 million pages hit the public, and Attia's name popped up over 1,700 times. Let that sink in. For those who don't know, Peter Attia isn't just some random doctor. He's the author of the best-selling book Outlive, runs the popular Peter Attia Drive podcast, and has a private practice where appointments reportedly run anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000 a year. Some sources even say $200,000. Yeah, he's a big deal in the wellness world. But here's the kicker. It's not just that he appeared in the files. He was emailing Epstein in ways that were way too chummy, and in some cases, explicitly sexual. Attia met Epstein in 2014 while fundraising for research and saw him 7 or 8 times in New York. But the emails are what really raised eyebrows. In 2016, he made a highly inappropriate joke. I won't repeat it. In another, he wrote, "I go into withdrawal when I don't see him." He was acting like Epstein was his best friend, or even some kind of addiction. And there's more. Attia sent Epstein emails like, "Cooch is indeed low carb. Still awaiting results on gluten content, though." This is the kind of thing people do when they're trying to impress someone, make a convicted sex offender laugh, apparently. After all this surfaced, Attia posted a lengthy apology on X. He said he sent it to his team but made it public so everyone could see. He stressed, "I was not involved in any criminal activity. My interactions with Epstein had nothing to do with his sexual abuse or exploitation of anyone." The emails did show him giving Epstein medical kits, talking longevity, planning visits to Epstein's New Mexico ranch, all years after Epstein's 2008 conviction. Everyone knew who he was. Everyone. Attia defended himself, saying he never flew on Epstein's plane, never went to his island, never attended anything inappropriate. But the fallout was immediate. He resigned as chief science officer of David Protein. A G1 dropped him from their advisory board. CBS News canceled a planned segment and removed a major interview. For a guy whose whole brand is evidence-based health and smart decisions, this was a nightmare. People immediately questioned his credibility. If someone this connected could make such reckless choices, what else might they have gotten wrong? The worst part? His career was booming. Bestseller lists, a huge podcast, corporate deals, sponsorships, and then, boom, a single document release hit everything. Attia publicly said he was ashamed, but people aren't letting him off easy. His judgment, or lack thereof, has everyone wondering, if he could act like this with Epstein, what else might he have messed up? So drop your thoughts in the comments. Which celebrity connection shocked you the most? Did anything here surprise you, or did you kind of see it coming? Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. New names, new revelations every week. See you next time.